So you said people should call around. Let's say who am I supposed to even call? Like call apartments, call like who?
So honestly, keeping your eyes out. Like, how do you find these places that are good for short-term rentals, good for Airbnb, good for Furnish Finder or whatever? When you are calling around, absolutely you can try calling these apartment complexes like everybody else is doing, saying the same thing, trying to not say Airbnb, but knowing damn well they're trying to start an Airbnb. You could do that, right? Like, you could. Or you could actually be number one. Like, one of the major pieces I like is if I'm just driving around, if I'm coming for a meeting, if I'm coming from, lunch with friends or whatever, I'm keeping my eyes out for places that have, hey, for rent. Oh, this, especially in Atlanta. If you are in Atlanta, you will know that there's cranes everywhere, downtown, midtown, whatever. They're putting up new apartment buildings like clockwork. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. So even those new apartment buildings that are coming up and they are just now starting to opening up their leases, those are places that I like to talk to as well, in addition to actually just going online. And people think the only thing that you have to do or you need to do is call. You can also email. Like, again, making the point of you should have no excuse after this. You can't sit here and say, well, okay, Precious, I be at work, 9 to 5. Like, I be at work 9 to 5. I ain't got time to be calling all of these places. You don't have to call. You can email. I actually got my corporate leases. When I had my corporate leases, I got those from an email that I sent, not necessarily a phone call. So just making sure that you are actually reaching out to the decision maker is one of those major pieces. And when I say decision maker, this is going to be, for instance, the homeowner. If you are looking at private owners, if you are looking at apartment complexes, this likely will be the property manager. But I go straight to the decision maker. Like, the leasing consultants and all of that, they just want to sell you an apartment. And I've seen people get into apartments because they thought the leasing consultant knew what they were talking about. And now the leasing agent has gotten them in the unit, and you're breaching your contract because your lease, because you're not supposed to actually be putting it on any short-term rental platforms, but they verbally told you that and didn't write it within the contract. So that's a huge piece. And then even furthermore, actually, other people have already done this work for you. So if you just search corporate housing in your area, in your city, or what have you, you are likely going to find websites of places that manage hundreds of units, and they offer corporate housing, or what they call corporate housing. They have a website. You can search. You can probably see the name of the complex. These places have already done the work of pretty much creating an aggregate list of all of the places that accept corporate leasing. Because if they're there, if they are already in that place, you already know that they have a corporate lease as well. So actually doing that search was one of the major ways that I was really able to easily sift through that, because a lot of the times people's major complaint is that when I'm calling around, I'm getting no's left and right. I got 100 no's, Precious. Okay, well, get smarter about how you're searching. Like, I don't know what you don't get 100 no's. I'm gonna let you know. But it's like, get smarter about how you're searching so that you can find like ways around these hurdles.
Okay, so let's say my credit like a 350. Is it no hope for me, or like what? Is there a way to finesse it?
No, you need to fix your credit. Like, you got other priorities. Like, no, you don't need to be focused on. No, you need to be focused on fixing your credit. If your credit, so would you say,
let's say there's a minimum score, or what would you say there's a certain minimum?
I mean, in terms, again, because there's so many ways to get started. Like I said, you can get started with just your business credit, or you can get started with just your personal credit, or you can mix the two and say, hey, I have average personal credit. I just started building my business credit. Does this suffice? So there's a number of ways, but I wouldn't necessarily say there's a minimum credit score to get started within this. No, there's so many different ways. One person you speak to could finally be that yes that's like, okay, I'm going to take a chance on you just because I just, for instance, evicted somebody. Those are my favorite people to approach. You just evicted somebody. You're not trying to get somebody else in there who's not going to pay your rent. So now in your mind, I'm going to present to you like, hey, I want to rent this out. I want to let you know that, hey, I can pay 2 months up front, 3 months. Or I can go ahead and, you know what, I'm going to pay every single time on time because I have a business and we have money in the bank account. You don't have to worry about having to evict me, about me not paying or late payments or anything. But just understanding the benefit for the other person, I think, is a major play in terms of being able to get closer to that yes. Like, too many of us go in with just like, you money hungry. People can see that. I can tell when somebody money hungry or not.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so you mentioned short-term rentals, obviously mentioned Airbnb.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say are maybe the importance of having other platforms? I'm aware of like VRBO. Can you
Mm-hmm.
name some of the other platforms and
Yeah,
maybe the importance?
VRBO, Furnish Finder, Homestay, One Fine Stay, Booking.com, TripAdvisor is one where you can also put your units on. There's a number of them. Peer Space is another one that isn't necessarily nightly rentals; it's more per hour. Yeah, but there are a number of them that you have an option to list on, and I think that there's a great importance in casting your net wide. So not just being listed on one platform. And I like to give a perfect example of that. So September, back in September, there was a crazy situation that I had going on with a guest. Very long story short, Airbnb ended up, like, the guest reached out to Airbnb. Airbnb ended up completely suspending my account, like for like 3 days
Wow.
straight. Suspended. Was barely communicating with me or anything. And ultimately they actually ended up deleting my entire account. But this just goes to show you, like, the importance of being, like, cast wide. Because had I just been on Airbnb, all of my money would have been out. Like, I would have been gone, because at the time I had 8 units. And for you to just completely, you canceled all of my future bookings. I have nothing else coming in. Like, it's a lot. So, like, you have to be listed on multiple platforms. And even if you're not listed on multiple platforms, have your own. Have a website, even if it's just a simple Wix template that you've thrown together and you can get some reservations or get some traction. At the very least, start building a mailing list of people can just provide you with their email list. You're golden. Because in the instance, for instance, when all of that happened with me, it was very easy for us to go ahead and say, like, okay, well, let's send a note out to all of the people that we had reservations coming up with, letting them know that, hey, something's going on with our account. If you're still interested in booking with us and staying in the place, we can take your booking directly. And that is exactly how we handled it. But again, had I not had that infrastructure in place, I would have been so out of luck.
Yeah, definitely. Before I ask my next question, I just want to let y'all know that's in here. We got like 10 minutes left. It's supposed to just be like, 30 minutes. So if y'all got questions, definitely type them down below. I'm sure, some of y'all been wanting to ask Precious a question. So, this is your time. But my next question, let's say I got my space, I'm calling. I'm able to get someone. They're like, okay, we're going to move forward. Can you walk us through the process, maybe paperwork needed, maybe things I should be aware of? Putting locks in my Airbnb, all that, the whole process?
I mean, I can't walk through the entire process because that's just me reading off the ebook. Like,
Make sure y'all get the ebook.
Exactly. Like, yeah, I have an ebook and then on top of that, it's like, I don't want to rush what I'm saying, and then it's just like, okay, got that. Like, no. So let's say,
how much? Wait, how much is the ebook?
The ebook is right now $49, but I will tell y'all, shoot me a DM. Shoot me a DM if you're interested in the ebook. The 2022 version drops in like 2 weeks. So if you want to grab the previous version, everything is still up to date. I've just added so many more topics into this version for this year. So that'll be releasing in 2 weeks, and I am taking pre-orders.
And you walking them through the process and everything?
Yeah.
Only $49?
Yes.
If y'all don't stop being cheap and hurry up and get the ebook.